Since RD is going first, Bong Bong will answer the question first. The second question will be answered by Mark first. So if it goes from right to left. Your right to left. That way it's long. But each question is answered by all of you. You won't have every question. Okay, good. Does that make sense? Did I explain that? Okay. Start.
Hi everyone, my name is Dean Mahan, also known I go by RD. And I'm running for Youth Outreach Co-Coordinator. Pretty much because of my overall experiences throughout my whole life. My parents have given me the opportunity to live in so many different communities, from overseas in Germany to unprivileged communities and also privileged communities. And I've experienced so many people and interacted with so many people of different backgrounds, so many high school students in a variety of ways, from church, school, community service, and volunteering. And a large part of my high school volunteering was pretty much working with other high school students in so many events, ranging from tutoring or large-scale projects in the community. And being a part of CORE and HSC, I really realized on a more personal level that I could connect with high school students on a much deeper and personal level that really showed me that there's so many high school students out there that need resources to really show their potential. And I just really want to advocate that. Learning through the example of this year's Youth Outreach Co-Coordinators, Koiniki and Koiniko, I really saw the potential. I really saw them bring out the potential in so many high school students and see the joy in their faces, to really see the opportunities that they deserve and they can really take hold of. And I really hope that with this position, I can continue that legacy of really empowering the high school students and bringing them up into higher education.
Hello everyone, my name is Bong Bong, and I'm running for Youth Outreach Coordinator because I want to help cultivate high school students to become future leaders of the world. Throughout my life, education has been put up on me as the #1 priority. However, we should make becoming the best person you can be as our #1 priority. Whether it be through education, career, the military, we need to create a space, a group of intellectuals that can lead the world into a brighter future. My mother said to me that it takes a village to raise a child, and with her life, her parents have always told her, education is important. We will sell our house to pay for your college dues. And throughout my life, my mom has encouraged higher education. And when my father passed away, she had to do it all by herself. And she got my sisters, my 2 older sisters, 17 years old at the time. She got them through college, got them to USC California by herself. And she is one of the main reasons why I'm running for this position, is because no matter what, education leads to success. And second of all, I do it because I want to pay it forward for all the people that gave me the opportunity to help them. My mentee said to me today, you gotta stay optimistic. And I know being in front of you all here today, it's kind of hard to stay optimistic because this world is cruel. It does not promote the cultivation of the mind. It promotes the accumulation of wealth. And we need to change that. And my main goal as a youth outreach coordinator is to provide a path for students to become the best that they can be. Because no matter what, they are number one at something. And they will succeed in whatever life may lead them, whether it be in academia, in sports, or maybe in the military and civic duty. They should become the future leaders of the world.
Hi, I'm Ray Mark Vargas. How you doing? Okay. I'm running for this position because for youth coordinator, for youth outreach coordinator, because I want to, to realize and empower high school students to attain higher educational goals. What encouraged me the most? Well, there were a lot of things that encouraged me, but one of the things that encouraged me was during the HSC when these theme about reaching for higher education because okay, going the distance. Okay, I went to the Philippines. I was born and grew up in the Philippines, and I went to elementary there, and I graduated since I was going to the Philippines. And when I heard that was going to be the thing of the event, I was like, I think this is the sign for me to become one of the facilitator. So I joined being a facilitator, and I enjoyed really because I thought I encouraged a lot of high school. I encouraged my group to pursue or to look for higher education, to look for resources, and I want to go back to my high school and tell them that there are a lot of resources in here that's available for everybody. Not for everybody, but I mean for a lot of us. Being underprivileged, and I went to Sweetwater High School. It was an underprivileged high school, but I didn't see it as underprivileged because I came from more extreme underprivileged elementary school. When I went here, I thought Sweetwater High School as a really good school. I didn't know it was a ghetto school. I didn't know it was I'm not saying it's really a bad school, but a lot of people see it as a bad school. I didn't know about that because I thought I'm in the USA. This is a US school, so I thought I'm in a good school. But when I came here, people will tell me, "Oh, you came from Sweetwater, or you came from National City, ghetto city, or scary. A lot of gang members. They will tell me that they're scared to go there." I didn't see that until I came here because I felt safe there, and the people who encouraged me to pursue higher educational goal were my counselors, my teachers. They were really helpful for me, and I want to go back there, and the core is doing. They have a site there. I want to continue that. I know people in Sweetwater High School, especially the counselors, the vice principals. I don't know the new principal yet. She's really strict, and I know people from that school, from not Morris, but related school, and I've attended a lot of conferences and have. I think most of them remembers me because I've been out to conferences. I knew Alicia before I went here because I saw him at a lot of conferences, a lot of Filipino conferences, and I just think think being a youth outreach coordinator, I think it's time for me to give back to high school students to reach their goals, like to reach for higher education education level. That's my main advocate. That's why I really want to become a youth coordinator.
Hello everyone, I'm Mario Randia, and I'm running for Youth Outreach Coordinator because in high school and in middle school, I was part of AVID. If you guys don't know what AVID is, it's Advanced via Individual Determination, and it's basically a class, an actual class, like it's an hour period in class where you like learn about resources to get you to higher education. So I was in it since 7th grade because that's usually when you would start, and in 7th grade, that's when I knew the A3Ds for high school. I wasn't even in high school yet, and I knew the A3Ds. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to college. But my parents had other plans for me. My parents didn't even want me to go to college. They didn't want me to go to UCSD. They thought, oh, you could go to community college, get a job, and help us pay for your brother's college. And I was like, no, I'm not going to stand for that. I'm so much more than that. And I realized that some people don't have AVID, some schools don't have AVID or a good AVID program. Or they don't even have the support like I did. I didn't have parent support, I don't have financial support, that's for sure. But I still pulled through. And I want underprivileged people or underrepresented people to understand that financial issues, family problems, no support shouldn't hold you back from trying to get a higher education. Because if there's a will, there's a way. How bad do you want it? Like if you really want it, you should work hard enough for it. You shouldn't just stand back down because of a simple problem. A simple problem, if you let that take over you, then you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. You'll be like, what if this? What if that? You'll never know because you didn't take the opportunity to do something about it. And I want high school students to know that I can be that support system that they want, that they need, if they don't have anyone at all. Because I know how that feels like. I know that even though I'm considered middle class, we don't have that much money to even send me here. Like I know fall quarter, I was gonna drop out and go to community college and do what my parents wanted me to do because we just didn't have the money for it. But I found a way. I took out loans. I asked my parents. I talked to them. And now, unfortunately, my dad's paying my tuition through using his retirement funds. And my mom guilt trips me about it every day. She says, oh, is it even worth it to send you here? Are you sure you're going to graduate? Are you going to do something with your future? You're taking away your dad's future while you're here. And it really breaks my heart that my parents can't support the fact that I'm going to a really good school. And I surround myself with good people. It's not like I wasted their money on like doing something not great with it. I'm getting an actual education. And when I tutored throughout high school too, and I would tutor the freshmen like during my periods because I was AVID. So when I had fifth period, I would go to their AVID class and tutor them like twice a week for their tutorials, and I would help them. And sometimes they said, oh, I don't have the grades to go to college, or I don't have the money. But there's always a way. Like, there's financial aid, there's scholarships, there's grants. Like, if you really want to go to college, you'll find a way. And so what about your grades? Grades don't mean anything. Because of our school system, everyone thinks that you have to have a 4.0 GPA to get into some college. And if that's not the case, I know some people that got it like into college with a 3.0 and like not that great of an SAT score. But they tried, they're going to some college, and they're doing something about it. Me, people expected me to go to a good college just because I had a good GPA, or I had a good SAT score, or I was Asian. I was Filipino, so I should be considered smart. But that wasn't the case. My parents didn't support me, and I worked hard in high school. Well, okay, not really as hard, because honestly, in high school, if you learn to beat the system, you can get good grades. And that's what I was told people. Like, if you do the homework, teachers will like you, you'll do better on tests, you get the good grade. It's like that. And I know it might not be as easy for some people, but I want to help high school students understand that there's always a way to do something. There's always a way for your future if you want it bad enough. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Monica DeSuze. I'm a freshman from 6th College. And my major is mathematical computer science, but I'm trying to get into computer science. So the reason why I'm applying to be a youth outreach coordinator is because I didn't have that empowerment that I really need. I lacked empowerment both, like in myself, like self-confidence from my parents or in my education. From the get-go, my parents, being auditing at home, my parents really babied me, and because they unintentionally could not be part of my life and really just be a parent for me and show support, they excused the stereotypical standard to get straight A's, go beyond, go the distance, get into like the best school that you can, because they felt guilty about it. So they just let me fly by through many years of school, just breezing through and only getting average scores. And on top of that, they also babied me because I was bullied for many years throughout elementary and middle school. And when you have that weak foundation, you're going to associate school as a place that you hate, that it's not a place for privilege or opportunity. Like, because we're so blessed to be in America. But I wasn't able to see that because of how bad the atmosphere was. But surprisingly, I was able to find a love for science. But while I did excel just in the science area, and my scores were way advanced and were even higher than considered honor students, the label of being basic or only a regular student really stuck with me. And so when I went to high school, they did not let me take honors classes in science because of this label. And I really hate that about the system, because if a government system tells you that you are regular or you are not advanced, or if you are not qualified to be an honor student, you're going to believe it. You're going to believe that you can't make it to college because you aren't that label and you're not fitting into that category. So, so throughout the process, I had to fight my counselors, I had to fight the principal and the system to tell them that I can, even though I don't have the history for it, I can work for it. And I can work for it, and just because I had a rough start does not mean I have to have a rough finish. And then going through that, and I made it a point to myself to get out of a high school that has such a shitty atmosphere. And so I asked my parents, and I made myself, I applied for the transcripts, and I transferred to a new school. And from that day on, I told myself that I'm going to be involved. And you know what? The system, they accepted me. They saw that I was determined. They put me in honors classes. And I want to say to students that don't believe in themselves or feel like they're permanently stuck with that label, that they can't reach those advanced classes because of their rough start, I want to tell them that you can, and that all you have to do is work hard and prove it. You got to prove it. You have to work hard and empower them to really believe in themselves, in their self-confidence, and to really just outreach to them and speak to their hearts. And what about students that couldn't go to college? For me, that was the ideal, to get into college, but what's my passion? Well, that's another issue that I want to talk to students about. The reason why many students, sure, they follow their parents' ideals to go to college to get straight A's, but what for? What's the motivation when you go to college? When the grades do not matter, it's the person themselves. It's the content within the person and the knowledge when you show up to a job interview. I like to host workshops and tell them about their passion and how, sure, it may not exactly be ideal like math or science, you can still pursue a degree in higher education at a four-year university or institution. Thank you.
Okay. So we're going to begin questions, but before we start, for the sake of time, we are limiting answers to 2 minutes each. So you have 2 minutes to answer each question. I will start counting the time as soon as you start speaking, and once you hear the time, please wrap up what you're saying within 5 seconds or so. Okay. I'll do like three. Come on. So I'll just go like this. So just like so first question. Who's taking? Okay, so we know we're gonna go over 5. Are you all?
If they're okay with us.
Yeah. Okay. So for those that are asking questions, please listen for Paolo. Paolo will say your name, and that's when you can ask your question.
What is spaces? What is shapes? How do the mission statements purpose align with the concept of education?
So this is Bong first because Artie went first the first round, and now.
Okay, so Spaces is the student-promoted access center for education and service, and Shapes is the student-initiated access program and services. And how they're supposed to achieve educational equity is to empower students through programs such as Encore Overnights, Encore Overnight Posts, Shadow Days, the HSCs, and not just our HSC, everyone's HSC. And going out specifically to on-sites. And to achieve educational equity, we need to be able to cooperate with each other. We need to be able to empower these students to cooperate with each other and to find the initiative to become the best that they can be. Know that we can tell them that no label can ever put them down. Because no matter what skin color creed you follow, you are you, and you are the best at something that you can do. So whether it is education or civil service, you can be the number one at that. And that is how Spaces and Shapes can coordinate with each other to achieve educational equity.
Honestly, I do not know what the acronym stands for, but these are retention programs. These are retention programs that, these are programs that help students, high school students, to go on site, college students, for them to go on site and help them to know what the resources are. I was part of the Trio program. Maybe I'm not answering your question, but I'm part of the Trio program, and this is one of the programs that UCSD has. And Trio program told me there are a lot of resources in UCSD, and they mentioned this, like the shapes and spaces and core, and mainly it's KP. So that's the reason why I joined KP. I want to know resources. I want to know what kind of resources that I can get and what kind of resources I can give back to high school students. I want to tell them that there might be limited resources, but there are resources for them. There are right resources for them, and these resources are helpful for everybody that's seeking for it. If you're not seeking for it, you're not gonna get it. But if you're looking for it, you will get it. And you just have to tell people that there are resources that they can get. And being a youth coordinator, outreach coordinator, it's one way to tell them how these resources work.
Shapes and spaces are resources to promote to promote knowledge and about shapes and spaces are resources for us to understand that even though we're underprivileged or underrepresented, it doesn't mean that we're alone here in college. There's resources to help us with our college career, and I know that Shapes and Spaces do like high school conferences, and they do shadow days for high school students as well, so they know options, so they understand and know that they can get a higher education, that there's a place for them, that they don't have to hold themselves back because of a problem back at home, financial issues, or anything like that. Like, it promotes that people can attain higher education if you work for it, and there's resources out here for you, and you're not alone. Can you please repeat the question?
What is spaces? What is shapes? And how do their mission statement / purpose align with the concept of education?
I'm sorry. Sorry, they opened the door.
So
The second part? Yeah.
So the last part,
Yeah.
how do their mission statement / purpose align with the concept of education?
So educational equity, just like how previous candidates were talking about privilege, like being at a university and a four-year institution that has these resources makes you a privileged student, even though you statistically are underprivileged. By having these resources and by having these organizations, you are able to like be empowered and not feel helpless when you feel like you don't have the resources or the financial support that you need here. And on top of that, having a place to just find community as well with other students that you can resonate with is also really important when you feel the struggle and like lack of comfort here when the expenses are really high. And on top of that, it also brings more community because Shapes is a collaboration of different orgs within UCSD. And it's also about, because it's a different collaboration, each community has something to bring to the table and has something to bring for the students as a whole that are underprivileged or underrepresented. For example, I know that many orgs have an underrepresentation issue, and then KP represents Filipinos that are also underrepresented and that are also going through financial and retention and empowerment.
So Space is Student Promoted Access Center for Education and Service, and Shapes is Student Initiated Access Program Service. Pretty much the mission statements means to me and how they work together is pretty much providing a safe space where we can foster the growth in high school students in many different areas, from academics to their own potential, ultimately leading to the realization of their worth and maximizing their potential by giving them resources and the knowledge to really show what they can do and what their future holds.
My question is, so as KP we serve the Filipino API kind of population, and there's always this like at UCSD we're 50% of the population. There's always that misconception that we're very overrepresented in college, and they say that we don't need these resources that are given to us. What do you say? What do you have to say about that myth? And how are you going to bring awareness with these issues in our community, especially when you're dealing with high school students who may think like, oh, like affirmative action is only not going to affect me, or it's only like, and how Asians are incentivized in the education system. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Can I summarize it? So with the model minority myth and Asian Americans and Filipinos being very exemplified in like the education system, what do you have to say about that? How are you going to combat these myths and kind of like show that we do need these resources to like fight the education disparities in the system?
Okay. Maybe in UCSD there are more Filipino students compared to other colleges or university. But yes, it's true that there's a lot of us. There's a lot of Filipino here compared to other kind of nation like Cambodian or I don't know, yet. But it's not true that the rate of Filipino graduating is low. It's significantly low than people entered here. Like a lot of Filipino for what I've heard, are dropping out because they cannot continue. There's a lot of problems. There's a lot of they thought they tried to get resources, but they cannot achieve it because of the myth that we don't need the affirmative actions that we are receiving. I think we should continue to ask for this because we need this, and the statistics tell us that we really need this. And to add to that, I think one way to achieve it is to talk personally to the head of who's doing the affirmative action. And I think one-to-one talk, or maybe the whole board, talking to that person, to the chair, or talking to the Filipino professors here in UCSD. I think that's one of the key how to continue these affirmative actions for us.
Could you repeat the question?
So, that's a long question. So with Asian Americans, and since we're KP and we serve Filipino API students, and with us being exemplified and people seeing as a model minority, and a lot of us going to the system of the higher education, people think that we don't need these resources. That just because there's a lot of us at university, like why do we need access to it when it's clear that our population is due to college? Like, what do you have to say again, like about that? And what would you do with to fight those myths about educational disparities?
I personally don't think that we're underrepresented here because if we were overrepresented, we wouldn't have to be fighting to keep LIHL 112 or 132, and we could actually have more classes regarding our Filipino culture. Since I'm in ERC and we have to do the regional specialization classes, there's no classes regarding Filipino culture at all, but
there's a whole bunch of classes regarding the Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese literature, music, art. But is there anything on Filipinos? No. We only have the heritage program that we fight to keep every year anyways. So no, we are not overrepresented. To fight that, I think that everyone should at least try to fight for like at least one more Filipino class. Like besides the Filipino heritage class that we have now, why can't we have a class that regards our art or our dance? Like I barely learned all these Filipino culture dances because PCC. Why can't we have like a dance class on that? Like there's folk dance for the Chinese and there's music for Japanese and literature. Why can't we have like at least one class on that? That way, when we go into PCC like season, like we'll actually know even more besides what we just learned from PCC. So, thank you.
So with Asian Americans, APIs is for KP, so we represent and we serve population. And Asian Americans and Filipinos being part of that umbrella term, being seen as model minorities and are exemplified in higher education. A lot of people think that we don't need these resources because there's like, if there's 50% Asians at UCSD, what makes you say that you need more Asians at UCSD? Does that make sense? Yeah. You too? So with these things in their heads, what do you have to say to that? And how are you gonna like fight these like myths about educational disparities when your job has to do with access to work for underrepresented communities because we're underrepresented, but other people say we're not. So is that clear? Okay.
I would like to add to that is outside of UCSD, I don't know if many of you know, but for the Chinese culture, even other Western schools outside of US, such as England, they have things called Chinese school, where they enforce their kids to embrace their culture and not abuse it. And when they learn how to speak and read Mandarin or Cantonese to really retain their culture. However, like in like my own home life, for many of the members in KP, they come to KP and they stay in KP because they want to learn more about their culture because they're not getting that at home. And then being like new students or second generation Phil-Ams, they join KP for that reason, and it really hinders just how much they represent as themselves as Filipino Americans. And just like in one of the more important events throughout the year, such as Makasama, I remember one of the guests, she says, I can understand it, but I can't speak it. And so how is it that like we're under, how is it that we can represent ourselves if we don't even know ourselves? And another thing is we're underrepresented because again, lack of Filipino culture in our education system outside of universities and inside of universities. And the fact that we as students as an org have to fight for those classes, that's another thing. Like, why is it that you have to fight when so many classes? Because it goes with the westernized trend of learning European history or world history, but not specifically our own history. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so I don't need to ask a question, but it's my understanding. It's my understanding of your question. It's dealing with how we can tackle the model minority myth and its hegemonic ideologies of how Asians are pretty much, as it says, a model minority, and that we are well off and we are successful. And from that misconception, it's okay. From that misconception, it pretty much overgeneralizes all of Asian Americans. We all, one of the polls that I read is pretty much measuring the household income of an Asian American household. One of the problems that one of the polls doesn't address is that Asian American families tend to have more than one family within a household, giving them inflating their income, showing that, oh, they're successful because this household's making this much money, but the problem only compounds from there. And KP being part of the SAAC, or Student Affirmative Action Committee, I really like that. I really advocate for that affirmative action because dealing with high school students that are Asian American, they might be seen as the model minority in which they're going to be successful. They have all the resources they need. They're going to be well off because their families are well off. Well, that's not the case because of the so many problems that they encounter, the lack of resources, the communities that they live in, and just all the misconceptions of how we seem to enjoy the benefits of the model minority, but instead we suffer from that minority in which we don't get the resource that we deserve in affirmative action.
I have one more, and I do not have to ask the question again. For me, I believe the Asians are a model minority myth comes from the fact that overall Western society as a whole is ignorant of it. As second generation Filipinos, we were unfortunately made ignorant of it. And throughout my life, there's been a lot of instances where, like, oh, I didn't teach you that because one person will make fun of you. Like, my legal name's Christopher, not Long Long. It would have been Long Long if my mom wasn't so great and people weren't so ignorant. Two, that here's the plain fact. We're definitely, well, specifically Filipino community, Filipino, is only 5% generally throughout the UC system. And even though we might be quote unquote overrepresented, and we might not need like access work, like if that's an ignorant statement, even among all incomes, all Filipinos live together with hardship, and they are still experiencing hardship right now. And people are ignorant of that fact, and what we should do to combat that is to give students access to their own culture, maybe through an elective, and definitely lobby for ethnic studies all across.
Actually, it's ego. Like a common word that we throw around with access work is privilege. So, what is your understanding of privilege, and how does it relate to access work?
My understanding of privilege is that you already have the support, you already have the resources, you already have the knowledge to get in, like to attain a higher education. Like they take SAT classes to get a really good SAT score to get into a really good school. They already know their 4-year plan. They already know which college to apply to. They know they have tutors. They have someone like checking their personal state for them to get into college. And privilege is, in addition to that, is they kind of have it easier. They have the resources to actually go to college. They're in a financial situation where they're capable of paying for college. They don't have to worry about any financial issues regarding their family. They may not have family problems that can hold them back. They know that college is what they're going towards. And was there a second part to the question?
Let me try to help you out. So basically, like, how does privilege affect access work when it comes to like underprivileged and underserved communities?
so they know that higher education is a possibility for them. Like, they don't have to settle for anything. Yeah.
Can you please repeat the question?
So, what is your understanding of privilege, and how does that affect like access work, specifically when it comes to those who don't have privilege, who are underprivileged, underserved, which are like the communities that we address?
Access work relates to privilege because underrepresented people feel that they may not feel empowered to be able to make a difference in the education system or or getting a degree and pursuing serious careers. It's just careers. One example is how there's not many Filipinos in politics. We're underrepresented. There's like how many lawyers you see are Filipino, are Filipino. I don't think so. And the reason why is because they feel that they can't make a difference. But by inspiring Filipino or underrepresented people from the start, from the root when they're still young and they're still trying to find their passion, if you inspire them to be able to see that they have to fight to be shown and be represented, and by pursuing a higher education, they're going to be heard, they're going to be known, they're going to be great, they're going to be known by the whole world for greatness, and so while they're representing their struggle and their journey to that greatness, they're also they're also showing an example to their other fellow and younger underrepresented people that they can do it as well. And me seeing, I didn't have all the resources to get to a four-year institution, but I was able to make it. And one of those things is finding community. Although I was again underrepresented in my high school, it's finding people that outreach to you and they that you can relate to and talk to, such as my family. If you can't find it at your high school, try to find it within your own family. And they inspired me as older ates and kuyas to strive for a career despite my underrepresentation.
So my understanding of privilege, to some extent, is relative, but in terms of access, I see it as privilege as determination between if one has resources, has the necessary resources or not. And in regards to access work in underprivileged communities, I feel that is, in regards to underprivileged communities versus privileged communities, there is much more rigorous, yet much more important for access work to be done in underprivileged communities. Because in privileged communities, work can be done to make sure that they are not taking their resources for granted. But working in underprivileged communities, there's much more to that in providing the knowledge of the resources, providing the resource, being the resource, as well as continuing to retain them and pretty much continue to guide them throughout the whole process of attaining the resources.
To my understanding, privilege is the ability to be able to access a certain resource or person. And in regards to access work, privilege should become access work should work towards allowing everyone access to these resources. For for me, I came from a Catholic school, but I did not come from the income of someone that would go to a Catholic school. I felt like I actually did not have the resources at the Catholic school. And there was not enough AP, there was no IB, there was no AVID in the Catholic school. And it's supposed to be the overrepresented well-off. No, it was full of underrepresented people. And it just comes to show that, like, we need access work to be spread out as much as possible. And that privilege should be, we should share as much of our privileges to each other as much as we can. Because I certainly needed it. And I'm still kind of struggling through college without some of the resources that we had.
From what I understand about privilege, I think privilege means getting whatever you can. Getting whatever you want, whatever you need. And coming from underprivileged high school, elementary, community, I think I'm not coming from those underprivileged overall community, I didn't see it as a bad community. I see it as a inspiration. I see it as a I need to work hard in order to get whatever I want. I need to achieve my goals in order to get my dream. And I'm thankful for Access Work because Access Work in my high school there are lots of access work, but not a lot of people are taking advantage of it. And that's one of the reasons why I want to get this position to tell that this access work are really hard to get, and we're fighting. And a lot of people, the poor, are fighting for this in order to give this to students. And this access work is really essential for underprivileged high school, elementary, or community because it will help them to achieve whatever they want, and from coming from underprivileged to get the privilege that we are wanting to get.
A student comes up to you and tells you about the struggles he or she is having now, and that achieving higher education will only create more. What do you tell him / her? A student comes up to you and tells you about all the struggles he / she is having now, and that achieving higher education will only create more. What do you tell him / her? First, I'll ask what specifically those struggles are, and I feel like I am a candidate to address those problems because I've gone through many varying obstacles in different aspects of my life. And once I know that, whether it has to do with self-esteem issues and not being comfortable or confident to be able to succeed in college, I'll be there to empower them and bring confidence to him or her. With what they're insecure about, or if it's financial issues, I'll tell them about the programs that we have here and spaces, and I'll let them know that with the struggle that she has, there's always an opportunity, and there's always something that you can do, but you just have to reach out for it. Sometimes you may feel helpless, but that's why co-coordinators, youth outreach coordinators are there to outreach to them and empower them so that they can, if they work hard for it, they can find a solution to their struggles, no matter what it is. And it's all a matter of your own motivation and how bad do you want it and how passionate you are about achieving your goals.
So what I would do in regards to this student is first and foremost, I'd really like to really empathize with them and really see what exactly they're going through. From there, I'd pretty much ask questions that would really get to the bottom of it. Ask, how do you feel about this? How do your parents feel about this? What are your exact struggles, going from academics to household, from all those aspects, and pretty much get below surface level to really see on a personal level what exactly is holding them back from fulfilling their potential and maximizing their success and seeing who they really want to be in the future.
Please repeat the question.
A student comes up to you and tells you about all the struggles he/she is having now, and that achieving higher education will only create more. What do you tell him/her?
What I would tell this student is first to look into him herself. Be like, why do I do what I want to do, and is it worth it? For that student, she has got to realize that he or she is good at something, and that she has to be able to find out if she wants to do that or not. And as a youth outreach coordinator, I want to let the students know that you must love what you do, or else it's not worth doing. Because loving what you do makes whatever you do not work, but a good experience. And that's what I would tell my students.
First of all, I will ask that person the question. A question: why? What kind of struggle is she or he facing, and what's stopping him or her for achieving a higher educational goal? Also, I would like to tell that person that higher educational goal is not the only way to success. It's not the only way to get whatever they want, but it is essential to get this education. It is one of the easiest way to get that success. However, there's no easy way. It's just you have to work hard for it. Also, if that person is facing financial, I'll tell FAFSA. The FAFSA is available. Starting from community college is one of the ways. And if it's family struggle, I'll tell them I will tell them there's a lot of people who struggle because they lack the support of their family. And I'll tell there are some successful students that lack parental support, but they're being successful now. And it goes on. There's a lot of question about why that person do not want or stopping that person to achieve higher educational goal. I don't want to generalize the question. That's why I would like to ask that person first what's the specific problem that person is having. And there are a lot of ways to overcome this.
In that situation, at first, I'd ask them to tell me their story. Because, just because they have problems and they don't, and I know that youth outreach coordinator is supposed to promote attaining a higher education, but I want to know their story first. I want to be able to support them in any way I can. So I'd want them to tell me their story first. And if they're not comfortable with that, I'll tell them my story. Because junior year, my family had lost their house, and we were pretty much homeless for the summer. I didn't know where I was going to live. I didn't know if I was going to be able to go to college still. We ended up living with my aunt because our house was foreclosed. And we lived with my aunt, and I struggled because I was ashamed to not have an actual house to live in with my actual family. I had to we have to depend on a family member to buy the house. So I understand how bad it can get, or they might have it even worse. But I understand that problem can get in the way of you wanting to attain a higher education. But I knew that I didn't want to go through that same struggle again, or I didn't want, like if I have children, I don't want them to go through the same struggle as me. I want them to be able to go for their dream to attain a higher education if they want to. And even if they don't want to go to a UC or a Cal State or a 4-year college, I can tell them there's community college. You can make baby steps. You can transfer. There's different ways because if you want it that much, you can do something about it. And if you want it badly enough, then you can get it, work towards it. And even if in the end, after I talk to that student, they still don't want to go to a 4-year college, but they at least think about it. If they're at least thinking about trying to get a higher education, then that's a step already, because they're already thinking about it. I mean, even if they're questionable about it, they're thinking about it, and that's the important part.
In your opinion, what is the biggest obstacle that students face in achieving higher education? And as Yoko, how do you plan on addressing that problem?
Okay. So, pretty much I see the biggest obstacle, two things. Either it could be the same. One is finances, and then the other is the resources that include either financing or the resources to the academic resources and financial resources and things like that. And pretty much one way I see how to tackle that is pretty much working with, as the name entails, working with core, pretty much, and as well as other KP board and even other organization meetings, pretty much to really make a list and get all the knowledge on all the available resources to them, and pretty much going from tutoring to scholarships, grants, and going from all that list of range of resources, and going from there, utilizing the events such as HSC, on sites, on court, and many other projects and events to pretty much throw out those resources out for them so that that obstacle can be overcome.
For me, the biggest problem facing why people cannot attain higher education today is because of 3 reasons: money, the desire to go, and the access to resources. And for money-wise, we need, as core and as an overall SAC organization, to cooperate with others to give workshops based on finance, like FAFSA and Cal Grant, because there's a lot of people that do not know what FAFSA and Cal Grant are, even though the progress is a little bit tedious, but it's not hard. But the second one is desire. Desire to go to college is hard. Some people just haven't been in that environment, but they are smart. For example, the man in Good Will Hunting. He's a genius, but he wasn't born in that environment. As core and as a member of SAC, we need to be able to outreach to those people. Third is resources. We as Yokos are the resource. Give access to resources through core, through the SAC organizations. And through our on-sites, our on-core overnights. We give them the desire and the workshops necessary to let them get to college. And this is how we should address these problems.
I agree with Artie and Bongbong. we need resources. We need resources. There's a lot of kind of resources like access, financial, and more. As a as a potential Yoko, I want to help those students to tell them that there are resources that they can get. If they lack this, if they can't find this, they're seeking for help will is a way to get this and okay is one way to get this. But the other one, I think the most important is self-motivation. I think a lot of people who are not going to college are not self-motivated. They don't see as college being that's the essential. They don't see this as the answer for their problems. I want to motivate them that yes, this is not the only way to be successful, but this is the proper way. This will give you the knowledge how to be successful. And as a Yoko, I want to tell them my stories, how I came here. It's such a struggle to go here, starting from elementary to high school, immigrating to US. It's a long story. But I'm here now. I got my resources. I got my access. I received access work. And what stopped me before? The struggle that was going to stop me before didn't stop me because I am self-motivated, and it's self-motivation overall.
So RD, Bong Bong, and Huey Mark did bring up good points, but honestly, I think the sole reason, or the sole obstacle actually, is mentality, your mindset. That's what holds us back. Your thoughts of doubting yourself, you saying, oh, maybe I shouldn't, there's always next time, or maybe later, or no, I'm not good enough. It's your mentality, your mindset is what prevents you from doing anything. No one said, oh, don't do this, oh, don't do that. Like, you're telling yourself, you're listening to those outside voices, those outside problems to not do something. And honestly, like, if you want it bad enough, if you have the want to do something, you should do something about it. Because it's all about your mentality. If you can believe in yourself, if you have faith in yourself, if you want it, then you can go ahead and get it. If you let an outside problem affect how you're going to do something or what you're going to do, then obviously, like, that you might not do it because you're letting it affect you when you shouldn't let something affect you. Like me, I didn't let finances affect me. I didn't let my parents not supporting me affect me. I didn't let being, like, scared or self-conscious about coming here because I thought I wasn't smart enough or I wasn't good enough or our financial situation, I'm just going to make my parents hate me or my parents don't even want me to go here, so what's the point? But I thought all of that because I made myself have a stronger mentality. I try to believe in myself even though there's so many things holding me back. So, mindset and mentality. That's the biggest
Yeah. In your opinion, what is the biggest obstacle that students face in achieving higher education? And as Yoko, how do you plan on addressing that problem?
I think some of the biggest obstacles that students face is, especially maybe if you're on a more privileged side, and you're just basically going through the motions and following the trend, oh, I do need to get straight A's, I do need to get into college, but what exactly do you want to pursue, and what is your passion? I think that's one of the biggest things, because once you know your passion, then nothing is going to stop you, because your passion is your motivation. It's going to push you through whatever obstacle because you have the drive for it. But how do you even drive students that have no passion? Well, as Yoko, I would like to host workshops at schools. And another point that I want to make, I want to try to expand our circle and not solely go to like Morris High School like that are locally within SD. Because by creating like a bigger community and hosting more workshops and getting it known that if you can find your passion, then there's a few, then it won't stop you. And then if you find that passion and then you reach higher education, you'll be in an atmosphere of just, you'll be happy. You'll have a successful future. And by like living solely, doing what you love as your job is the best reward that there is. And yeah, with those workshops, you have to inspire and empower those people and expose them to different subjects that they haven't known before. I know, like for example, right now in this day and age, computer science and coding is part of our everyday lives, but it's being underrepresented, even though we have history, mathematics, and so many other subjects. But that's been going on for years and years and years, and we need to know our present, we need to know our current, what's going on currently in order to move forward in the future.
Was that 5 questions?
Hold on, my computer's really slow. That was 5.
Justin is next.
But I think that was 5.
It was 5. Are there any more questions?
There was a list. There's still.
Okay.
How many students are those? How many people on the list?
It goes Justin, Aaron, me, and I think you go again. This is important.
Okay.
Are you all still good?
Oh, you're
Yeah.
good.
So